In today's Federal Flash, we'll discuss what federal policymakers are doing to support students in the midst of school closures due to the coronavirus. We'll cover action being taken in Congress, the Federal Communications Commission, and the U.S. Department of Education. Hi, I'm Philip Lovell, and I'm joined by Lindsay Dworkin. Let's begin with the House of Representatives. Lindsay?
Schools are closing across the country in response to coronavirus, and many classes are moving online. The sudden change is disruptive for everyone, but it's especially concerning for students from low-income families who rely on school not only for education, but also for food. Yesterday, the Families First Coronavirus Response Act was introduced in the House of Representatives to help. House leaders are now negotiating with the White House on a final bill.
The legislation, as introduced by House Democrats, would provide food stamps, or more formally, assistance under the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, or SNAP, to families with children who would ordinarily receive free or reduced-price meals in school. To be eligible, the child's school has to be closed for at least 5 days. The legislation also provides flexibility in how the National School Lunch Program is administered in order to get as many nutritious meals to as many children as possible. For example, the bill would allow child care centers to serve meals and allow flexibility in the types of food children receive if there's a disruption in the food supply. A complete summary of the legislation introduced by House Democrats, including provisions related to paid leave, is available at the link below. The final details of the bill are still being negotiated, but it could pass the House as early as today.
Over in the Senate, Senator Patty Murray, the leading Democrat on the Senate Education Committee, introduced legislation that would provide $3 billion to support schools and colleges. School districts would have flexibility in how they use the funding, ranging from sanitizing school buildings to purchasing devices in support of online learning due to school closures. The bill also provides emergency financial aid to help college students cover basic needs like housing and childcare. It would also exempt college students from having to pay back federal loans and Pell Grants if their education was interrupted by coronavirus.
Congress planned to be in recess next week, but Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell postponed the Senate spring break to address the corona crisis. This means a final bill could reach the president's desk soon. We're hoping the final legislation that passes Congress will help students who are moving to online learning as a result of corona closures. The Department of Education estimates that 14% of children had no internet access at home in 2017 with major equity gaps. 12% of white students had no internet access at home, compared to nearly 20% of Black and Latino students and 37% of Native students.
There could also be action from the Federal Communications Commission, or FCC. The FCC runs the federal government's largest education technology program, called E-Rate, which funds internet access in schools and libraries, as well as a program called Lifeline that can support home internet access. Senator Maria Cantwell of Washington sent the FCC a letter urging them to find ways existing programs can, quote, be used to facilitate at-home connectivity for students to keep up in class should remote schoolwork become necessary due to COVID-19 closures. FCC Commissioner Jessica Rosenworcel, who's been a strong advocate for closing the homework gap, issued a statement yesterday saying, quote, the coronavirus is already exposing hard truths about the digital divide, but the Federal Communications Commission has the power to help. The FCC should identify how it can use its authority to provide Wi-Fi hotspots for loan for students whose schools have closed their doors.
While policy is pending in Congress and at the FCC, the Department of Education released guidance to districts and states regarding the sharing of information between schools, public health officials, and others during a time of emergency under FERPA, the Federal Educational Rights and Privacy Act. The department also released guidance on ensuring students with disabilities continue to receive services in the event of school closures. Finally, the department described flexibility it could provide regarding assessments and accountability, saying it would be open to a targeted one-year waiver of several testing and school identification requirements if necessary due to school closures. This information and more is available at ed.gov/coronavirus.
That's all for today. For an alert when the next Federal Flash is available, email alliance@allfored.org. Stay safe, and thanks for watching.
Federal Flash is the Alliance for Excellent Education's video series on important developments in education policy in Washington, D.C. Watch online at allfored.org/federalflash, subscribe to our YouTube channel, or listen to Federal Flash wherever you get your podcasts.